Monarch Money is a great budgeting app. It does take some time to figure it out and get started. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough showing you how to use it. Hey there, I'm Brittany Flammer, a financial coach with videos all about budgeting and money saving tips for you and your family. There are timestamps if you want to jump ahead. Also at the end, I have a reference for a great source where you can turn for more help with Monarch Money. Let's get started with setting up your budget. Customize what shows up on your dashboard. Go to the top right, click customize. Now you can toggle on and off whatever you want to see. You can drag to rearrange the order that things appear in. The getting started, once you've gotten started, I like to turn that off. Plan progress, that's just another word for budget. It's showing you your overall budget, your income and expenses for the month. The spending trend, this will show you your spending this month compared to last month. The transactions review, this will just show any transactions that someone needs to review. Like I said, you can drag to rearrange them. It's only going to rearrange them on your computer. If you want them rearranged on the app on your phone, you will do that on your phone. They can be separate. Now let's talk about linking your bank accounts. If you are brand new, it will probably prompt you to link your accounts. But if you're not brand new, or if you have some accounts linked and want to add some more, you can just go on the left-hand side to accounts. And on the top right, you can add an account. Search for whatever bank account, credit card, whatever you want to add. In this example, let's add a Chime account. Now you'll want to go ahead and click on it, and it's going to show you your different options for linking. In this example, it's recommending we use Plaid, but there are other options down below. And you're just gonna type in your username and password for Chime, and it is going to link your account. The biggest complaint I've seen from clients is having issues with the connectivity of their banks. So do the one that they suggest, but if you're having issues, you can come back in and try linking it a different way through MX or through Finicity and see if that works for you. Now it's time to set up your budget. Now you might be inclined to click the budget on the left-hand side of the screen to customize it. I don't recommend doing that. You can customize it through there, but it's much easier when you're first getting started to go through settings. So go down below, click on your account. This is a demo, so mine just says demo, but yours will have your name. Go to settings, then select categories. If you are brand new, it's going to pop up showing you some of the things you can do. You can just click next through the screens, or you can skip it if you want. Monarch's budget comes with 60 preset categories. These are very generic categories that most people will use. I highly recommend customizing it to you and your needs. Like any other budget, it has your income and then all of your expenses. Their expenses are categorized by groups, like all of the car stuff is in one group. All of the house related stuff is in a group. All food stuff's in a group, which some people really like. If that works for you, keep it that way. I personally like to do mine a little bit different. I like to have my fixed bills or my fixed expenses, those boring bills. And then I like the variable expenses or lifestyle expenses, the ones I have control over. And then I like to do my savings. I've got the shorter term sinking fund savings as well as the long term or investment savings. However you choose to organize them, you're going to edit, and I'll show you how to customize that however you want. You can go ahead and just click on a category to edit it. And in here, you can choose a different emoji. You can have a lot of fun with that. Click on the name to rename it and type in whatever you want. So for this example, my husband is James. So this will be James' paycheck. And just save it. And it's automatically going to update everywhere in your settings, your budget, your forecast. Interest category, if you want to rearrange them, you can just drag it and drop it where you want. If you want to put it in order of when you receive the income, or largest to smallest, however you want, you can drag and rearrange. I also make money, so I'm going to open up this category and I'm going to rename it. We have no other income, so maybe I want to delete a category. Select it and deactivate, and then disable category. Now you cannot delete categories in Monarch Money. You can deactivate them or disable them, which will gray them out and it won't appear, but you cannot delete them completely. Now let's customize the rest of the budget. It is a lot easier to drag and rearrange rather than delete and create new ones. If you want to move an entire group, you can click on the top of the group and drag it to rearrange it wherever you want it. Here, I'll move charity down and I'll move housing up. And then I'll rename a group. So just click edit to rename the group, and I'm going to change housing to fixed bills. Also, you want to note in the group option, it will give you the option to budget by category or budget by group. I personally am going to choose budget by category. This means each item, each category item will have its own budget. So you can have one budget for your mortgage, one for your utilities, everyone has its own budget. If you budget by group, that means all of your fixed expenses will have just one total overall budget. Let's look at the mortgage. Everything looks good. I don't want to change anything. So I'll just exit out. Rent, since I'm paying a mortgage, I don't need rent. So I will click on it, I'll deactivate it, disable it, and you can see that it's now grayed out, but it hasn't disappeared. Home improvement, for me, that's a sinking fund. I don't spend stuff every month, so I'm gonna drag it down later, and I'll show you in a few minutes how I handle sinking funds. Now I'm just gonna find any other fixed bills or boring bills that I want to go in this category, and I will drag them up. If you've got a car payment, I'm paying that every single month, I would drag that up into my fixed bills. Gas, some people argue whether this is fixed bill or should be variable. I personally put it in the fixed bill because I pay it every single month, no matter how much we spend on gas. Garbage, I'm gonna drag it up. But I wanna edit this because our city bill includes our water and our garbage. So I'm gonna edit, rename it to city bill, and I'll save. Now my water is included in my city bill, so I can go ahead and delete water. So now I'm just gonna continue to drag until all categories under the fixed bills are included. An example, if I have student loans, personally, I'm gonna put that under fixed bill and drag it up there because I'm paying it every month. If you need to add a category, at the bottom, just click create category, choose the emoji and whatever name you want. For example, they have electric and natural gas combined, but for me, they come as two separate bills. So I'm gonna separate them here. Now, you don't want too many categories. The more categories you have, the more you have to track. But you don't want too few categories because then your budget won't tell you anything. So it's like the Goldilocks. You gotta find what works just for you, and that's just by trial and error. For example, I have some clients who lump all of their utilities into one category, and that works for them. Personally, I separate them. It's whatever works for you. Auto transport, most of these I could go ahead and delete. Public transport, I don't use public transportation where I live, so I'm gonna deactivate that one. If you do use public transportation, you could move that, and like every month you have a Metro card that you pay for, you could move that to fixed bills or your variable bills. Auto maintenance, I don't use this monthly. Once again, for me, this is a sinking fund, so I'm gonna drag it down and I'll deal with that later. Taxi and ride shares, I don't use these, so I want to delete them. So I'll click deactivate, but when I go to do this, I see that there are 18 transactions categorized here. It's going to show me however many transactions I have categorized in that category. So I can click on the transactions and it'll bring me and show me all of the transactions for that category. Now, you might see all these transactions and decide, oh, I don't want to delete that category, I'm going to keep it. But for me, all of those transactions are Ubers. That means I used it when I was on vacation. So I don't want it. So I still want to delete this category. Go back to our categories. For taxi and rideshare, I'm going to deactivate it. But because we have transactions under taxi and rideshare, I need to tell them where they go. So if I'm going to delete this category, they need to go somewhere. So I am going to choose vacation because all my Uber rides, I only do use Uber when I'm on vacation. So I will click on the categories, find travel and vacation. Then I'm going to go ahead and disable categories. So it's going to get rid of my taxi ride shares. So now this category is gone and all of those transactions have been recategorized to vacation. But continuing on, let's go to charity. Maybe this is a fixed expense and I'm gonna pay it every single month, or maybe I wanna move it down, or maybe I wanna delete it. I personally am going to include it in my fixed expenses, but if you want to delete an entire group, just click that edit and delete. We'll go ahead and delete bills, utilities. In this example, bills and utilities has a category. I've deactivated it, but it is still there. Now, you can't delete categories, but you can still delete the group. But it's going to ask me where I want to move the category where I want to move water to. So even though it's been deactivated, I can't delete. So I just choose the other category. All the stuff that I've deleted or deactivated and don't think I'm going to use, I just put it in other. So it's easy for me to find if I do decide I want it in the future. Food and dining, you could keep in its own group. I don't, but a lot of people like to. Groceries, pretty standard. Restaurants and bars, coffee shops. I think I would move coffee shops into restaurants because I think less categories is easier, and to me they're the same, but whatever works for you. So once again, I'll deactivate, it shows me all the transactions in there. I'll choose to move everything categorized there into restaurants. So this is the basic on how to customize your budget. I'm gonna go ahead and keep doing mine. I'll move through it really fast so you can fast forward to the next step. Now, when I look through, my categories are organized how I want, in the words I want, and this is automatically going to be reflected in the budget. Some of these are sinking funds. Just know that I like to lump all my sinking funds together, and I can turn on a rollover. So money will roll over. Anything extra, if I didn't spend anything on Christmas this month, it will roll over to next month. So let's click on vacation, toggle it to roll over, toggle it on. If I've already have money saved for vacation, I can type the balance in there. Now let's go ahead and look at your budget. On the left-hand side, you can select budget, and every category you have edited will show up here in the order that you created it. Now, a lot of these will already have numbers in here from transactions that have been imported. It's probably not gonna be perfect at the beginning, so let's go through the budget. So we see James's money. I can click on it and enter in how much I expect to make. Now, once your transactions have been imported, it's gonna show you the last 3 months of transactions. We are in March, so it'll be showing December, January, February. And I can, if I click on February, it will automatically put in the exact dollar amount from February. Or here, this is an average of 3 months over on the left. If you click that, it will put in the average for you. But James' salary, so his is the same every month. When you link your bank accounts, it is automatically going to import your transactions. Now, every bank is a little bit different. Most banks on average import a couple months of transactions. Sometimes it might only import a couple weeks. Sometimes it could import up to a year. It varies from institution to institution. There's no guarantee. Just know that it probably won't import every single transaction, but it's a good place to get started. So I highly recommend, if the average is really low and you know that you probably spend more than that on a typical month, put in what you think you will spend. So Brittany's paycheck, I have no transactions from the past. Maybe I'm just linking this account, but I'm planning on making $300. So I'll enter in 300. So now the number is automatically going to update to show me how much money I have left to budget. I like using the average of the past 3 months, but when you're first getting started, it's probably not completely accurate. It's a good baseline, good place to start. But like I said, if you think you will spend more than that or make more than that, type in the higher number. As you go through each category, you might notice changes you want to make. For example, natural gas, maybe I really do want to keep it lumped in with electricity. So you can just click on the category, click that gear icon, and then you can customize it there. You can delete it, disable, activate it, deactivate it, deactivate it, just like in the settings. I just think it's easier to go to settings when you're first getting started. And it will be set up, the budget will be set up in the order you put your categories in setting. Unless you don't have any money budgeted for a category, then it goes down to the bottom. As soon as you add money, it'll move it back up to where you had it. So it's gonna stay within the group you have it in, but if there's no money budgeted for it, it will go down to the bottom. So for example, fund money, let's type in $50. It's automatically gonna update it and move it to where the order I had it in for your settings. You go through every single category, update to the average or to what you think your expenses will be for the month. And like I said, the top right is going to show you how much money you have left to budget. If it's green, that means you have money left over. That's money that you can put towards debts or towards savings goals. If it is red, like most people's, that means you need to find somewhere to cut back. So you can go through your categories and see where you can cut back. I just want to show you a few tips when you are first getting started. Cash flow is a great visual for you to see where your money is going. Click on that cash flow tab, and the very top, it's going to show you your monthly income versus expenses. So income's green, expenses are red. The goal is to have more green than red. This is simply showing the money that comes into your accounts and the money that goes out of your accounts. Money transferred, if you transfer money between an account, or if you're just paying off a credit card, that's considered a transfer, and that won't count in the cash flow. I like seeing the visual of where your money goes, so you can do the Sankey diagram. I personally prefer the bar chart, so let's look at the bar chart, but you can toggle between groups or categories. For now, let's just look at the categories. This is a great visual to see where the money is going. So let's click on the month. Up above, it'll show me March, but March isn't over, so I want to look at a full month. So let's go to February. Scroll up, just click on February, and the bar chart will update for February. And you can see here, the mortgage is the largest, that's the most common. In this example, if I could pay off the car and student loans, I'd have over $1,000 a month, extra a month, towards funds that I could put towards fun stuff. This is just a great visual tool to see your problem areas, where all your money is going, areas where you can cut back in. Now that the budget is set up, let me show you how to automate using rules. It takes a little bit of work up front, but then in the long run, things will be automatic and you won't have to spend a lot of time on it. There are two major ways you can adjust the rules in Monarch Money to make things automatic. The first way is in your transactions. So if you open up to all of your transactions, these transactions are automatically going to be categorized for you. Monarch does a pretty good job, better than most budgeting apps, but it's not perfect. So in the beginning, you can just spend some time going through and correcting the transactions and setting up the automation. For example, we open it up, I see IBM is categorized as James's money. If I'm not sure what the transaction is, I can click on this arrow or caret and get more information. I can see what account this money is going into, see the date. I can add notes or a tag, or maybe it's your spouse's transaction and you don't know what it was for. You can mark it as needs review. If you and your spouse are on an account together, it will show both your names, and you can click the person, whoever you want to review it, click their name. This is just a demo account, so I don't have that option. If you need more information, this is where you go to. But if you can look at that transaction and know, I can look at that and see that that's my money. James works at the University of Illinois, but the IBM is my paycheck. So I can just click on that category where it says James's money, and I can choose which category I want it to go into. So in this case, it will be Brittany paycheck. Now, when I change that, there's going to be a pop-up asking me if I want to make it automatic. There are a lot of options for this. I'll go into more detail in a minute, but for now, I do want to. So I'll click on it, and I know that IBM is my paycheck. So if the merchant's name is IBM, I want the transaction to be categorized as Brittany's paycheck. And if there are other transactions, I can click in the bottom and it's going to apply to all of the other transactions. So I'll mark that, hit save, and now it has updated all of those transactions, and I can see that if I go into the cash flow tab. You can continue to automate transactions by just scrolling through your transactions, and anytime you find an error or something that's not where you think it should be, you update it and create a rule. For example, I'm just scrolling through, I see a transaction from Chipotle. It's categorized as auto maintenance, so let's fix that. I just click on it and I'll choose restaurants, and it's going to pop up asking me to create a rule. I can save that. All future Chipotle will come up as restaurants. Now, if something's categorized incorrectly, you can change it without creating a rule. For example, Target is categorized as shopping, which is usually where I want it to go. But this specific transaction, I was buying a gift, so I want it to go into a different category. So I'll select the category and change it to gifts. When it pops up asking me if I want to customize it, I can just click dismiss, or I can just wait a second and the pop-up will go away and it will not change, or it won't create a rule. It will just change that one transaction. This is one way of automating, just going through all your transactions, but there is another way, and I'm going to show you how detailed your automation can be. There are a couple of ways you can get to it. If you're already in the transactions tab, just go to the top right and select customize rules. Or you can always access it through settings. If you want to go to settings, click on your account, settings, and then rules. Now this is gonna pop up showing you the rules you've already created. This is just a demo account, so I wanna start fresh. So I'm gonna go ahead and delete all of them. I'll click on options, delete all rules. Now, keep in mind when you delete the rules, it is not going to change the things that have already been categorized. So the transactions in the past will stay how they are, but the rules will affect everything in the future. So we can see if I go back to transactions, that income from IBM is still categorized as Brittany's paycheck, even though I deleted the rule. But the future ones from IBM will not be categorized as Brittany's paycheck. So now to create a rule, click create rules. There are a lot of ways to customize. This is like an if-then statement. On the left-hand side is all the if. If you change something on the left-hand side, then you can affect something on the right-hand side. So let's start with merchant. This is a very common one. You can select a merchant name. You can choose if it exactly matches or if it just contains a name. So if it contains, maybe let's do Walmart. If it contains Walmart, because my Walmart in-store shows up as Walmart, and then my Walmart.com shows up as Walmart.com. So if I include, if it contains Walmart, then I want to update that category to be shopping. Or maybe that's where I do my groceries. So I want it to be groceries category. And then if there are any existing transactions, I can check that box at the bottom, and it will update all Walmart to go into that category. After you do that, you'll see the rule there. Every rule you create will show up here. Click on that same one and I can add merchant names. So let's say I do grocery shopping at Aldi or at Whole Foods. Any stores I put in there will be updated to groceries. And you can just do this. You could create a new rule for each one, or if you have similar ones all in one rule, this means you won't have as many rules to go through. You can also categorize by amounts, set amount. For example, preschool, each month I pay via Venmo. So the merchant name is Venmo and the account equals $125. So I want to update that so that the category will be categorized as child activities. And I'll save that. Now in this demo, there are no actual transactions of that. In my personal account, there would be. But I can create rules. So Venmo, and maybe I use Venmo to pay for piano. I could also create one for piano for that amount. Or you can do greater than, less than, in between. You can also create rules based on categories. Maybe your spouse does a lot of shopping on Amazon. You can turn on a category, maybe select shopping. Your wife does most of the shopping. And mark as need review. So everything that comes into the shopping category will be marked as needs review, and you can choose your spouse to review it so that she makes sure if there are household items she's buying, or she can make sure everything gets categorized how it's supposed to be. You can also create rules by account. So maybe your kid's account is linked and you want those transactions to be hidden or something. There are so many possibilities for how you can customize. Now that the budget is set up and your transactions are automated, I'm going to show you how to handle sinking funds. At the beginning of the year, I like to do our annual budget plan for the year, and I come up with our sinking fund. But it's okay if it's not January 1st. You can start today, wherever you are. This is how you can do it. You can use pen, paper, use a spreadsheet, whatever works for you. I like a spreadsheet, and that's easy to share my screen. So I'm going to do a spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet, I have just a list of possible sinking funds. You might have more, you might have less. They might not all apply to you. These are just some generic ones. So for example, maybe you want to do holidays and combine Christmas and birthdays. Or maybe birthdays and anniversary could go into gifts. It's whatever makes the most sense for you. And if you don't need the category, the sinking fund, then don't use it. But I just go through this, type in all of my sinking funds, and then look at each month and just put how much I think I will need that much for things. So for example, car maintenance, I know I'm going to need an oil change every couple of months. Registration for all of our cars is in spring. It'll probably be about $300. So I'll put that in March. And then in fact, I think I'll combine car maintenance and car registration into one. House maintenance, I pay for the lawn spray in the spring. That's around $300. And then throughout the summer, we buy some yard stuff. It is not perfect. Just do your best guess. If you want to get more accurate, look back at last year's numbers, but just your best guess is a good place to start. I go through and do that for every single sinking fund. And then I get a total for the year for each fund. Now, what I do with that total is I divide it by 12 to know how much I need to set aside each month. So in this example, let's look at car. I need $600 for the year for our car maintenance. So I'm going to divide that by 12. That means, because there are 12 months in a year, that means I need to put away $50 each month for car in order to have the money when it's time to pay for things. That's how I figure out how much I need in our sinking funds. That works no matter what budgeting system app you're using, but now I'll show you how to put it into Monarch. I like to put our sinking funds in a separate savings account so they're not in our checking account. I highly recommend online savings, high yield savings accounts, because they are out of your checking account so you don't see them, think you have lots of money. They are earning some interest right now. Rates are 4 to 5%. And you can still link them to your account so you can access them relatively easy. If you want recommendations, here's a video with some of my favorites. I'll have that playing at the end. In Monarch Money, you can see here, I have a group for our savings or for our sinking funds. So what I'm going to do is make sure I have a category for each sinking fund that was on my list. And what I want to do is open up a category and turn on the rollover. So where it says rollover, you click it to toggle it on. And if you already have money in the account, put in the starting balance, how much you already have in it. If you don't have anything, then just set 0, that's fine. Now I'll speed through and do this for all of my accounts. Now in Monarch Money, the budgeted amount is how much you plan to put into that sinking fund for the month. The actual is how much you actually spent this month. And the remaining is how much you have left to spend. So if you see that little arrow with the circle, that means it's a rollover. So that means whatever money is left at the end of March will be rolled over to April and every month until you turn it off. If you click on it, it's going to show you how much you started with, how much was rolled over, it'll give you more details. When you spend money in this category, you'll pull it out of that category. So here is an example. For travel, I have $275 budgeted each month for travel, and it is rolling over. So if we click on it, we can see how much has actually been spent in travel this month. But let me go ahead and add a transaction for you. We'll go to transactions, add one. I'm gonna add, let's say I made a reservation for an Airbnb for the summer. Let's say I spent $75 for that reservation. I'm going to add that transaction. Now, normally this would automatically be imported, but for the sake of the video, I'm manually entering it to show you. Now, if we go back to our budget, you can see the actual is higher, but I am still in the green because I have money in my account. If you toggle on the rollover, it will automatically roll over from month to month, and it doesn't have to be in its own group. I like to have all my sinking funds in one group together, but you don't have to. Any category you can turn to rollover. This money rolls over so you can see how much you have to spend, but if you are if you have your sinking funds going to a separate account, then you will have to actually transfer that money to a separate account. Otherwise, it will just sit in your checking account and it will accumulate. So if you're really disciplined, you could leave it in your checking account and not look at the balance, because most people, if they look at the balance and see they have a huge balance in their checking account, they want to spend it. And then when it comes time to pay for that vacation, the money won't be there. That's why I recommend moving it into a separate savings account so that it's not in your checking account, can't be spent. So whatever the budgeted amount you have for the month for a sinking fund is how much you would actually transfer out of your checking account into your savings account. And then when you swipe your card to pay for something, that will get categorized and come up under the actual. And what's remaining is how much is left. So if you move your money out of your checking into a savings account and then you pay for something, then at some point you will have to transfer the money from your savings back into your checking to cover the bill. if that makes sense. Here's how to create goals and work on paying off debt. I'm gonna use credit card as an example. Here are a few things you want to know about credit cards in Monarch Money. First of all, when you use your credit card, you will have some double transactions. So if your credit card account is linked to Monarch Money, anytime you swipe, insert, tap, pay with your credit card, there will be a transaction. That will come up as an expense. You'll categorize it as an expense. When you pay off your credit card or make a credit card payment, that will be considered a transfer. So it will not affect your cash flow. You've already accounted for the money you spent. It's just a transfer, so there's no cash going in or out according to your cash flow statement. If you pay off your credit card in full each month and don't have a balance, then that's all you need to know. When you swipe or pay with your credit card, that's the transaction you categorize. When you pay your credit card bill at the end of the month, it's a transfer. You don't categorize that. If you have a balance on your credit card, stop using the credit card. First of all, it will help you get out of debt faster. Second of all, it is so much easier to manage in this budgeting app as well as pretty much any budgeting app. Assuming that we have some credit card debt, we are going to go to the goals. It's on the left-hand side. These are all of the options they have for goals. You can customize them and you can create as many as you want. There's no limit to them. But in this example, we're doing credit cards. So we want a goal to pay off our credit cards. So we'll select credit cards. You can choose how many cards you have. As many cards as you have, choose a number. Let's go with 2 today for this example. You can also focus on other goals. We'll just focus on the credit card now. Click next. You can edit the icon, change the name. Let's change it to travel or vacation. You can select an image to customize it. That's great for visualizing. Now we're going to set a target for that money goal. Now you want to make sure you link the credit card that you are paying. My credit card is already linked, so it's already in here. But if yours isn't, make sure you link the card that you're trying to pay off. And then you want to add account. So you're going to choose from account that is already linked. So here, this American Express card is linked. That's the card that we're trying to pay off. So I'm going to choose it. Since it's linked, it already knows the balance. It will update automatically. So I'll choose that. If we had a second credit card, I would do the same thing and choose to link the different account. But this is a demo account, only has one credit card. So I'm not gonna do that. But you can drag and rearrange your debts, your credit cards in the order that you want to pay them off. And that's why I wanted to show you too. But now let's go to the goal. The goal is how much you want to pay towards your card each month. So this is showing our average saving in the past 3 months. But if you're just barely getting started, it will take some time. So that number probably isn't the most accurate. So we're gonna go with 500. That's my goal each month, to put $500 towards my credit card. Now, if I go to my budget and scroll down to the bottom, I will see my goal. And this is showing that I plan on paying $500 this month towards credit card balance. And it will take that $500 out of my budget. So I'll have $500 less to budget with. It won't show up under the actual until I've actually made a payment. So the amount remaining is the amount left to pay until I reach my goal. That's not the amount until I've paid off my card. That's just the amount until I've reached my goal for this month. So let's say I've been working hard, cut back, and I'm able to make an extra make a $300 payment to my credit card. In theory, this would show up automatically, but for the sake of this example, I'm gonna manually enter it in. So here we go to our transactions tab, click on the arrow next to that transaction, and I can scroll down and apply it to a goal. So I'm gonna choose that travel credit card goal. And then if I go back to my budget, it will show that $300 has been applied to that goal. You can create all sorts of different goals, savings goals. You can put a goal amount you can customize them to what you want. You can link your retirement. That is in beta, so your transactions probably won't link just yet, but that is coming out. But that's the way you handle your goals, just like you're trying to pay off your credit card. If you want more detailed help, I recommend this YouTube channel, Evolving Money. Taylor is also a money coach, financial coach. She focuses mostly on Monarch Money. I help clients that use all sorts of things, but she's focused mostly on Monarch Money, so she knows a lot more than I do. If Monarch Money is not the right budgeting app for you, check out my video with my favorite budgeting apps right up there.